Hello everyone, I'm Ashwini Vegas and I'm a part of Team Data Dynamos. We are a team of five and I'm here to introduce them. To begin with, our project manager is Darush, Meera Patel is our quantitative research associate, Uju is our. Before introducing our research question, our project mission, and our ultimate objective, I would like to give a background to our topic, which is FOMO. FOMO stands for fear of missing out. So, what is FOMO? It is a feeling of apprehension that you're missing out on something more interesting that is happening somewhere else in someone else's life, and what you're missing out that you think could be information, life events, or experiences which are taking place elsewhere. Now, this fear is further augmented because of the presence of social media that is everywhere and causes a significant amount of stress. So, having given a gist to our topic FOMO, I will now present to you our research question, which is: what are the factors contributing to the development and maintenance of FOMO and its impact on one's psychological well being? How are we trying to attain this project mission of ours? So, we are exploring this topic using two sections. So, for the quantitative section, we have used the Canadian Internet Use Survey 2020, and this data has been represented on Excel and the data has been analyzed further. And for the qualitative part, to conduct manual coding, each team member was asked to choose five multimedia items of their choice, provided they were from verified sources. They could be TED Talks, documentaries, YouTube videos, blogs, a piece of text, or an article of their choice. Post manual coding, all the findings from the quantitative and qualitative sections were analyzed to come to our final objective, which is to provide recommendations to mitigate the effects of FOMO and promote a transition towards JOMO, which is the joy of missing out. Now, what is joy of missing out? It is a state of self where you're in utter bliss doing what you're doing and not really worrying or stressing out what is happening elsewhere in someone else's life.
Now we'll talk about the project initiation phase of our major research project. Project initiation is the first phase of any project's life cycle where the project's concept, objectives, scopes, and initial planning are established. So the first step in the project initiation phase is to create a project charter. In the project charter, we have outlined the major components of our research project. First uh, is the mission statement. Uh, in the project charter, we have mentioned that our research project is to explore factors which contribute to FOMO, which is fear of missing out, and its impact on psychological well-being. We have also conducted a qualitative and a quantitative secondary analysis using Canadian data. Uh, we have also mentioned how our project has led us to or transitioned towards joy of missing out. The objectives, we have encountered the three main objectives for our project. First, examining the negative impacts of FOMO on well-being, social isolation, loneliness, poor communication skills, depressions, anxiety, and risk-taking behavior. Second, we have also focused on analyzing the data quantitatively and qualitatively to correlate social media use with psychological well-being. We have also recommended the strategies to tackle FOMO and embrace JOMO. The deliverables of this project were quantitative, which was a Excel-based coding of the StatScan data for a Canadian Internet Survey use from 2020. We and in the qualitative section, we have coded numerous multimedia items, which are videos, articles, newsletters, and research publications to identify the FOMO factors and the strategies. We have also reported on findings, and its recommendations, and transition to journal. And the stakeholders for this project was the Humber, our research analyst program faculty, uh, our professor Livana, and the Data Dynamos team members. So now I'll be talking about the approach for our major research project. So first we did a secondary analysis of Canadian survey data on internet usage. Then we also focused on the individuals impacted by FOMO in Canada. We also generalized the qualitative data coding. We also tried, and for the qualitative component of our research project, we found 15 multimedia items from diverse sources, and simultaneously we also adhere to the ethical considerations of a research project. Our focus for this project was the hypothesis formulation and answering that particular research question. You can see in the project charter that I have mentioned few of the assumptions that we as a group were adhering to. And for the communication, our group task was divided way before each meeting, and we were discussing our process through weekly meetings. And I think one of the major channels that we used for our team meetings were Google Meets and Microsoft Teams, and we were also using WhatsApp a lot for ongoing updates. The risks that we as a group encountered during our major research projects were microdata availability, bias in analysis, and data security. There were some communication challenges as well, and some resource constraints. And I think this is something that every group has encountered, some technical difficulties while working on their project. The challenges that we faced was that we only had limited data access. There were subscriptions that we might had to pay for. There were some external disruptions and adapting to changing conditions. Documentation, we had a centralized document. We had saved all the documents and centralized it onto the Google Drive, uh, and it was managed by a project manager, and the records were on Google Drive, WhatsApp, and Microsoft Teams, and ongoing updates were shared through Gmail. Boundaries, we had decided on emergency communication to the project manager if there is anything. We had also decided the decision making process for our research uh, project. Uh, Here we thought of that majority would be a minimum 3 votes to two, and the meeting quorum is four, which is of 5 people present, including the project manager or the project manager assistant. Regular communication and collaboration among team members will facilitate the effective decision making. So this is an overview of our project charter. Thank you.
While no critical path was identified, we tracked progress against all planned dates for completion of each task and remained mostly on track. All the things that remain outstanding within Phase 6 are things that are currently being worked on or have a completion date beyond the point of this presentation. While no critical path was identified, we tracked progress against all planned dates for completion of each task and remained mostly on track. All the things that remain outstanding within Phase 6 are things that are currently being worked on or have a completion date beyond the point of this presentation.
Now moving on to the second phase of our research project, which is project planning, execution, and monitoring. So first thing in our second phase of our major research project was to create a change log, and this was a part of our change management plan. So change log is a document that we have created which tracks and documents changes, updates, and modifications made to our project uh, over time. It also provides a chronological history of changes along with the relevant details such as date of the change, a brief description of what was changed and who made the change, and the reason for changes. This change log has helped us a lot when we were working on our project. This has contributed to effective communication and collaboration within our team. And because of this, we were able to provide a centralized record of modifications that anyone involved in our project can refer to. Thank you.
Let's start with defining the purpose and scope of our research communication. The main goal of this study is to explore the factors contributing to FOMO and its impact on psychological well being. First, the effective communication with all the stakeholders is essential to the success of our research. Major stakeholders include our team members, research subjects, funding sources, and any other relevant parties. We will organize regular updates and meetings to sustain involvement and foster a collaborative environment. The next critical aspect is the communication of data gathering and analysis. This ensures transparency and reliability in our research. We have carefully selected data gathering methods and analysis methodologies, which will be clearly described in our communication to maintain consistency. Throughout the study, we will discuss the status of data gathering and analysis to keep all the team members involved and address any potential obstacles. To facilitate efficient and effective communication, we have determined the major communication channels and tools for this research. Our primary channels include emails, project management tools, virtual meetings, WhatsApp, and shared document repositories. We will ensure that all team members are familiar with these tools and encourage their regular use. A detailed work breakdown structure, WBS, has been created to divide the project into manageable tasks and subtasks for easier planning and tracking. The structure will help us stay organized on track, ensuring that all aspects of the research are addressed systematically. Last but not least, we have developed a risk and crisis communication plan to tackle potential issues that may arise during the research. This plan includes identifying risks such as data breaches or participant attrition and implementing strategies to maintain and manage overcome these challenges. In conclusion, effective communication is at the core of our research project's success. By defining the purpose and scope, engaging with the stakeholders, communicating data, gathering and analysis, utilizing appropriate channels and tools, and having a risk and crisis communication plan in place, we're confident in delivering valuable insights on FOMO and its impact on psychological well being.
For the budget, two categories were used to break down costs. That is the labor costs and the costs for equipment and tools. We broke down costs even further by estimating costs for each phase. Highlighted in yellow are the totals for each phase, which shows both the projected costs and the actual costs. Finally, we added a column for funding obtained, all hypothetical, of course. This slide shows the totals and budget performance tracking for data dynamos. So far, we have remained within budget, even while Phase 6 is yet to be concluded. Assuming a funding of $10,000, we plan to spend approximately $9,700, which leaves us a buffer of $300 beyond the planned contingencies. Presented here is a summary sheet to show, in simple terms, how we've performed. While we overspent in Phase 1, we saved money in Phases 2 to 5, giving us a variance of $1,700 from the planned spending and a variance of nearly $2,000 from the funding.
For the SWOT analysis about strengths, I would like to say that each and every team member had an exceptional ability to work really well under pressure, and this was especially observed post our status report 3 grades were out, and it really did push us, and we were able to meet all of our deadlines. We are team members with diverse skill sets, some very good in the qualitative part, others in the quantitative part, some in the budget section, and others in managing the Gantt chart layout. Moving on to the weaknesses. When we were Still in two minds on deciding whether to utilize manual coding or in vivo for the qualitative data analysis section, we decided to go with manual coding and not in vivo because in vivo was just a certificate completion that we had done as part of our qualitative 2 course, but we didn't have the necessary skills required to do the task for this project with in vivo. That was one weakness. Then there were occasional communication problems, which were at its peak during status report 3, and we were racing to meet deadlines at the nth moment because all team members were from the same course, same subject, same assignments, same college schedules, and this led to clash in common meeting times, which led to work delays. What I could call an opportunity would be that initially we were not a team of five, we were two separate teams, and ours is a coalition of two teams put together, and this happened on the 19th of May. All five of us saw this as an opportunity since more manpower would mean more hands to work on the huge project, and we all grabbed this opportunity. And another opportunity would be our decision to go with manual coding since we had freshly completed a manual coding assignment in the qualitative course and we were well equipped to handle the data very well as a result of this. Moving on to threats, I would like to say that incompatible time schedules posed external threats for finalizing meeting times for status report meetings as well as work completion. I'll now be explaining the key findings for the qualitative part. In order to develop strategies to tackle the problem of FOMO, one needs to know what is causing it. So, this was the reason we asked each team member to choose 5 multimedia items, conduct manual coding on it, and then the codes, categories, and themes generated from it were further classified into sections for our key findings, and from this, we happen to divide it into two parts, which is the negative impact of FOMO on people's lives, which would be seen in the form of social isolation, loneliness, poor social and communication skills, and risk taking behavior. And FOMO is also linked with depression, anxiety related symptoms, sleep impairment, and fatigue. So, these were some recurring themes that we noticed in our qualitative manual coding part. And by understanding these findings, it became possible to develop strategies to tackle FOMO and promote JOMO, enabling individuals to be more present and invested in the moment and not worry about what's happening somewhere else in someone else's life.
Let's take a look about quantitative analysis. A quantitative analysis was conducted on the existing data file on Excel for internet usage, smartphone usage in various scenarios, and corresponding perceived mental health. The analysis pointed towards usage of internet and smartphone on the higher end and poor perceived mental health even for a more generalized age category. Few studies have explored the effect of the fear of missing out on problematic mobile phone use among college students or adolescents among the provinces of Canada. But this study was for a more generalized age range, and we did an analysis of certain parameters mentioned above to test the relationship between FOMO and problematic mobile phone use. Even for this generalized age category, problematic mobile phone and internet was found to be high and perceived mental health was found to be poor. This could be point towards FOMO being one of the driving factors causing such patterns in internet and phone usage, which negatively affects one's mental well-being. Let's see the projected and actual deliverables. To conduct exploratory research was due between 13th May to 31st May. However, we did it between 13th May and 2nd June. For the status report 1, the projected date was 25th May to 31st May. and we submitted it on 30th May. The project planning package would be completed by 31st May, but we completed it on 2nd June. We supposed to identify the gap in the literature between 10th June to 13th June, although we completed it by 20th and 21st June. We would determine the research approach between 13th June to 17th June, and we did it on 17th June. The projected dates for status reports 2 and 3 was between 17th to 22nd June and 6th to 12th July respectively, and we did it on 21st June and 30th July respectively. We were supposed to develop a report from 16th to 21st July, though we completed it on 21st July. For the status report 4, the projected and the actual date was 24th July to 27th July and the 27th July respectively. 25th July to 4th August was the projected date for research forum package. We had done it completely on 28th July.